Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Aaron Blade, and I'm the editor, creator, and producer of what you're watching right now, Blade Talk. If you are new here, welcome, and you found this presentation helpful, informative, do me a huge favor and hit that like button. Do me an even greater favor and subscribe to my channel. I always appreciate all the support that I am given. So in today's presentation, I'm going to be responding to all of the requests for me to give an update on the Israeli-Hamas war, as well as America's involvement in it. Now, this comes with a caveat. Obviously, I have to dive into the realm of politics a little bit. So if that's not something you're comfortable with, or you don't like hearing about certain politics and whatnot, I advise you to skip over this presentation. For the rest of us, let's hit that intro and let's begin. All right, so basically what we know so far is that Israel has decided to go into the city of Rafah, where intel suggests that there are a couple brigades of Hamas terrorists located inside. Of course, this has drawn a lot of controversy because there are many innocent Palestinians that are in the city of Rafah. And it's important to note that Israel has done and is doing all it can to eliminate the death of innocent civilians. They don't want innocent Palestinians to die. Now, I wish that the same could be said for Hamas. They're actually counting on innocent civilians dying. Israel has allowed humanitarian aid in. Israel right now currently is telling people to evacuate out of Rafah, and within this amount of time, there's also been a number of proposals that hopefully would end the conflict. However, Hamas chooses not to agree to any of them. Israel is basically stating that if you release the hostages and surrender, this war is over. Hamas, the way that they view it, is in order for them to win, they just have to survive. So they will not accept any proposal that eliminates their power in the region. At one point, they suggested that if Israel gave up the terrorists that they've caught during this war, that they're currently interrogating and put in jail, if they release those terrorists, then Hamas would release bodies. Now notice the language. They didn't say hostages, they said bodies, as in dead bodies. So obviously, Israel has declined this. I mean, why would you give criminals over to Hamas if all you're going to get in return are dead bodies? So within all of that, peace talks have broken down, and Israel is going ahead and pursuing the enemy and finishing off Hamas. Now, this is where personally my political views come into play. And that is that I don't care whether you're Republican, Democrat, whatever. Okay? I'm not here to preach politics to anyone. But what I will say is that I think that President Joe Biden is making a huge mistake. He has decided that during a war, one of our closest allies, probably our only ally in the region, the only democracy that we have vowed to support, President Joe Biden has decided to withhold weaponry during a war. And for those that say that, well, this is Israel's problem and Israel can deal with it, I'd like to remind those individuals that currently Hamas is holding American hostages as well as hostages from 23 other countries. So that logic doesn't hold up. President Biden has decided to withhold weaponry.
Have those bombs, those powerful 2,000-pound bombs, been used to kill civilians in Gaza?
Civilians have been killed in Gaza as a consequence of those bombs and other ways in which they go after population centers. And I made it clear that if they go into Rafah, they haven't gone into Rafah yet. If they go into Rafah, I'm not supplying the weapons that have been used historically to deal with Rafah, to deal with the cities, to deal with that problem. We're going to continue to make sure Israel is secure in terms of Iron Dome and their ability to respond to attacks like came out of the Middle East recently. But it's just wrong. We're not going to supply the weapons and the artillery shells used that have been used.
Artillery shells as well.
Yeah, artillery shells.
Now, obviously, that is disappointing to hear, especially when back when President Joe Biden was a senator, he opposed withholding any kind of aid to Israel.
This week, to the extent that some of the Democrats are saying that if, because of Israel's settlement policy, that they would look at cutting off military aid to Israel as a result of that.
That'd be a tragic mistake. I strongly oppose Israel's settlement policy on the West Bank. I've made that clear to Bibi when I was vice president. I made it crystal clear to the Israelis. But the idea that we would cut off military aid to an ally, our only true ally in the entire region, is absolutely preposterous. It's just beyond my comprehension anyone would do that.
Terrorist organization also bent on the destruction of the Jewish state?
Hezbollah is a terrorist organization.
Okay, so Israel's been hit in the last few weeks by Iran, Hezbollah, and Hamas, dedicated to their destruction. And you're telling me you're going to tell them how to fight the war and what they can and can't use when everybody around them wants to kill all the Jews? And you're telling me that if we withhold weapons in this fight, the existential fight for the life of the Jewish state, it won't send the wrong signal?
So basically, what President Biden has decided to do was force Israel to stand alone, which Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel, has stated that during the Holocaust, no one came to our aid, which is true. As a matter of fact, America knew about the Jewish concentration camps as early as 1940, 1941, and did nothing about it. It wasn't until America was attacked that America got involved. There are many Americans that view themselves as isolationists. It's not our problem. We shouldn't deal with it. And I disagree with that. We are the richest, most powerful nation on earth. And with that comes a great responsibility. If you know that just your presence alone can provide stability in a region, why wouldn't you do it? Instead, you'd allow people to suffer. And history has shown that when we choose not to get involved or we become isolationists, it hurts us in the long run because now we have to actually put boots on the ground. So this has divided the Democratic Party. President Biden's decision to withhold aid from Israel during a wartime. And of course, this has allowed the Republicans to criticize the president. Now, I'm not telling you to vote one way or the other. I'm saying that I don't agree with President Biden's decision on this at all. And for me personally, President Biden has had some horrible stances on foreign policy. When he first came into office and we withdrew from Afghanistan, when we provided stability in the region, they didn't want us to leave. They were holding on to the plane, begging us not to go because they knew what would happen next. When the cat is away, the mice will play. The Taliban took over. Women's rights were stripped of them. And many people suffered. And if we have the ability, just by our presence, to prevent that, why wouldn't we? Now, again, the Prime Minister of Israel has stated that if Israel has to stand alone, then we will stand alone.
80 years ago, in the Holocaust, the Jewish people were totally defenseless against those who sought our destruction. No nation came to our aid. Today, we again confront enemies bent on our destruction. I say to the leaders of the world, no amount of pressure, no decision by any international forum will stop Israel from defending itself. As the Prime Minister of Israel, the one and only Jewish state, I pledge here today from Jerusalem on this Holocaust Remembrance Day, if Israel is forced to stand alone, Israel will stand alone.
But it is disappointing that we call ourselves Israel's closest ally. They're the only democracy in the region, our closest ally in the region. And we're going to withhold or abandon them at a time of war. Simply because President Biden believes that Israel is conducting this war in a manner that is causing a lot of innocent lives to be taken, essentially. And that is not true. Israel has done more than any other country in history to try to prevent innocent lives being taken. Israel has dropped leaflets. Israel has told people to evacuate. Israel has literally called certain places before bombing them to say, hey, get everybody out. Israel is allowing humanitarian aid in, to which point Hamas is stealing. But Israel is doing everything that it possibly can to prevent innocent lives being taken. But Hamas's agenda depends entirely on it. Hamas views it as a win if they can survive. All they have to do is survive. They just want to maintain power in the region. So out of the multiple proposals that have been put on the table to end this war, Israel has said, release the hostages and surrender. Hamas doesn't want to do that. They don't want to give up power. If Hamas survives this conflict, they see it as a win. And there are some people in America that are calling for the Prime Minister of Israel to step down, which I don't understand that at all. He has a war cabinet. And in that cabinet are people that oppose him politically. But it's unanimous that Hamas has to be taken out. So even if the prime minister resigned or stepped down, the next person that would take his place would do the same thing, just as any sovereign nation would. You can't have a nation and have people look towards the government to lead if another nation can come in and kill and otherwise kidnap 1,200 innocent people. No citizens are going to respect that government that lets that happen. So Israel has to do what it is doing. And I support Israel 1,000%. They're doing what they have to do. And they're trying hard not to kill innocent Palestinians in the process. And what I wish America would do, as opposed to applying pressure on Israel, why not apply pressure to Egypt and withhold funding to Egypt unless they actually take in refugees, so these innocent Palestinians can have a place to go, while Israel takes out a terrorist organization. But of course, everything is a referendum on Israel and its actions. So, again, on social media, people are saying it's a genocide. And as I've stated, if Israel wanted to, they have complete air superiority. If they wanted to, they wouldn't be risking the IDF and their lives. They just level Gaza and be done. So I reject this notion that Israel is committing a genocide. It's simply not true. And you tell people about October 7th, and some will say, well, that's not where it began. IDF was kidnapping Palestinians. IDF was doing this and this, but there is no evidence of anything. As a matter of fact, Israel pulled out of the Gaza Strip and forced Jews to give up their home, give up their lands. They forced them to. So there's no evidence of this, and you want to control a narrative or push an agenda based on a theory of which you have no evidence. But Hamas gave us evidence of the destruction, the horror, and the tragedy of October 7th. So I don't allow people to disturb my peace, and it is really unfortunate that as I'm sitting up here speaking with you today, my own shul is vandalized. There are Jews at college campuses that are being advised to tuck in their Star of David or take off their yarmulke so that they don't antagonize these protesters. And I think that's absolutely ridiculous to tell Jews that they have to hide who they are. I heard stories about another time when we had to do that, when we had to hide who we were. Never again is now. So I maintain peace in my personal life. I advise my fellow Jews to do the same by removing negativity. That's just for my mental health. So if you see, someone comment under one of my presentations and you go back and it's not there, it's because I removed it, or I conducted the algorithm to remove it here on YouTube, because I'm not going to allow someone to insult me. Now, you can disagree. I love to exchange in dialogue, and you can say, hey, I disagree, and give your reasoning for disagreeing. And I love to hear different perspectives. But to come on my channel and say that you're corny, this channel's trash, you don't know what you're talking about, you're uneducated, you're following a white man's religion. Not to mention my grandmother was white, but whatever. Being Jewish is not who I'm trying to be, it's who I am. I have Jewish blood running through my veins. And I won't hide it for anyone. So I remove it. And I guess I'm just from a different mindset altogether. If I don't like someone, I keep my distance from them. If I don't like something I'm watching, I just click off of it and go find something else. I don't understand this need to attack someone that you disagree with. You're corny, or you're this, or you're that. And some people take it a step further and try to dig up dirt on someone. Try to talk to, exes and old friends, old family members that you don't talk to anymore, and try to dig up dirt and whatnot. I'm not into that. I'm not into the gossip. I stay away from it. And even the Torah prohibits that. Lashon hara, you're not allowed to speak negatively about anyone. So save all the insults from the river to the sea. It takes more time for you to type that than it does for me to remove it. I don't allow that. And you can agree with my message, or you can disagree with my message. I'm open to dialogue. And even if you have some kind of constructive criticism that you want to get across in terms of the lighting or the sound or the aesthetics of the presentation, that's what my email is for. But it's about the power of the message, not the image of the messenger. For my mental health and my peace of mind, I remove all negativity from my life. Even if someone comes to me and they say that you'll never heard what such and such said about you and this, that, and the third, I don't dwell in gossip at all. I don't want to hear it. And I asked them, before you told me, who else did you tell? And if they told this person and that person, I don't want to know. I don't even want to know what it is, because when it gets out, I don't want to be the one to say I knew about it. And the real question is if you heard something about me, then why didn't you defend me at that time? And that hurts, because I would do that for you. The moment someone says, you'll never believe what was said about, your mom or whatever. I don't even, nope. Go, get on somewhere. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to be involved in it. Absolutely not. And I ended right then and there. Because what I have found is that when someone dislikes you, they try to recruit other people to dislike you. And because social media has become such an echo chamber, you got people that dislike you that ain't never even met you. Which is why I don't sit here and let insults stand on my channel. I'm not seeking validation from strangers, and I definitely won't sit up here and be insulted by them. People that dislike you team up with other people that dislike you. And before you know it, you have an entire group of strangers that literally hate who you are, and they never even met you. And that is the great tragedy. And that is what I'm finding that is happening to the Jewish people as a whole. People just heard something and they ran with it. That's why I disassociated myself with the Black Lives Matter. In the beginning, I agreed with the police brutality as far as trying to eliminate that. I agreed with the injustice killing of unarmed black men. But when Black Lives Matter decided to make anti-Semitic remarks, when they reposted Hamas and what they were doing and whatnot, no, absolutely not. I'm a free thinker. And as I stated, I don't surround myself with negativity. I don't speak negatively about anyone else. And if someone else speaks negatively about me, either tell me how you defended me or don't tell me at all. Because I was taught to criticize the messenger too. Because there's nothing worse than someone playing both sides. You're more dangerous than my enemy. At least my enemy makes it clear who they are and they don't like me and why they don't like me. But someone just playing both sides. So, in talking about this Hamas-Israeli war is bringing a lot of anti-Semites out. And again, they're masking behind it's just the innocent Palestinians and that's what I'm for. And that's fine. Again, my heart goes out to those innocent Palestinians that are losing their lives. But I am placing the blame where it belongs. Hamas started this war. And especially if you're an American, you're in no moral position to claim that someone else is committing a genocide, considering what America did in Iraq after 9/11. So that's my 2 cents on the entire conflict. It is an unfortunate one, and I wish that Hamas would surrender. There have been peace talks, and they want Israel to release criminals and terrorists back to Hamas in exchange for dead bodies. Israel rightly shot down that proposal. I'm going to give you live criminals for you to give me dead bodies. Israel has tried, and unfortunately Hamas, they want to stay in power so they can declare it a victory. And as the Prime Minister stated, we are Jewish. No one came to our aid in the Holocaust. And if we have to stand alone, then we will stand alone. We'd rather do that before other people pressure us on how to do it, especially with the UN, when most of them are anti-Semitic as well. There's only one Jewish nation in the world. And to some, that's one too many. We are done explaining our right to exist. So, again, it's an unfortunate situation. But that is the update on what's going on with the Israeli-Hamas war. Israel is going into Rafah to finish the job. Now, what they've decided to do is go in slowly so that President Biden can redeem himself from this huge misstep by withholding aid. So Israel decided, well, we're going to go in slowly so President Biden can say, well, it's not a full-on invasion, so we'll give you the weaponry that you need. But if Israel has to stand alone, we will stand alone. So again, that's what's taking place. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Blade Talk this week. If you found this presentation helpful and informative, do me a huge favor and hit that like button. Do me an even greater favor and subscribe to my channel. I always appreciate all the support that I am given. Be good to yourselves, be good to others, and until the next episode, you all take care.